All right, welcome to Yin Yoga, and tonight we're really going to hit the front of the body with some deep stretches. And so I've brought a chair along with me today, which might be a useful prop, and along with the good old blanket or towel and bolster. So it sounds like a lot of props today. But if you have something handy like that, a big old couch next to you might be handy, etc. So we're going to get into the front of the body where the psoas passes through, but to do that we want to also open up the ankle joints, up through the knees, through the quads, through the abdominals. So it's that kind of part of the body that you start to experience when you come into a leaning back position or a back bend. So let's start to work with the body in different ways here. Start with Vajrasana, thunderbolt pose. You can be kneeling on one or two blocks. You just want to make sure that the knees feel okay with that and the ankles. So we start the stretch through the front of the legs, from the ankles through the shins to the knees up through the quads. Close the eyes for a moment and just notice the stresses and the stretching points on the body that you feel from the hip crease down to the ankles. To exaggerate that, start to lean back, almost like you're tipping off your block a little bit, and start to feel how the knees want to lift to compensate. And then exhale, hinge forward so you bring the weight into the knees and you change the stress points. So we'll try that a few times, just swaying slowly backwards, opening up the hip crease, and then swaying forwards, closing the hip crease. So our goal today will be to open that hip crease as much as we can. Exhale. Come forward, come off your block, and have your blocks handy. Have your blocks handy. Come onto your back. Bring your hands onto the hip crease so you feel the angle between the thigh and the belly. Probably a little bit more than 90 degrees. Lift the hips up, and as you lift the hips up, notice how the hip crease opens up, and take a block onto its lowest setting and bring the hips down onto the block. So you feel the hip crease open up. And then slowly extend both legs out. Feeling that stretch in those hip creases. Bring the arms over the head. And bring the back of the hands onto the floor. Let the tips of the thumb touch and the tips of the pointer fingers touch, so you create a little diamond shape with the arms extended overhead. And as you do that, bring your attention to the fold at the hip crease. And notice how this position starts to open it up even more. And the fascia, or the fascial sling that comes through that hip crease, goes from the left thigh to the right abdominal. So there's a crossing over of fascia that kind of glues this area strongly. We often find ourselves glued forward and hunched up here. And the mirror image on the other side, from the right thigh to the left abdominals, there's another fascial sling. So think of two fascial slings that cross over here, right through the groin, between the belly and the thigh. Reach the hands a little further away so you feel the first stretch in the rib cage. And reach the feet a little further out. Really feeling the opening in this area. Exhale, gently release, bend the knees. And lift the hips up into bridge pose. Squeeze the buttocks. Feel for the block and rotate the block onto its edge, onto the second level of height. And rest the hips on the raised block. If that's too much for you, turn it back to the original position. Carefully extend the legs so you feel the hip crease open up even more. Some of you will have more than a 180-degree opening now. Otherwise, it'll be close to just open. Reach the hands back over the head, back of the knuckles resting on the ground, tips of the thumbs together, pointer fingers together, and reach. If at any time it becomes too much, bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet onto the mat. Keep the back of the neck long. You shouldn't need anything under the head at this point because the hips are so high. Exhale, gently bend the knees. Bring the hands back and relax in this higher bridge. At any time it gets too much, you can come off the block. Walk the feet in a little closer. Come onto the balls of the feet. Lift the hips up so high that you can turn the block onto its tallest setting and sit the hips down onto the tallest setting and then bring the feet back to the mat. Now, if that's too much, stay on the second setting. You don't want to be in pain here. Now carefully start to extend the legs out. Woo! This is a big ask on the psoas. You might feel a little cramping in the buttocks here. If you do, you can bend one knee back and pull it back to relieve the cramp. Bring the right knee back and hug the right knee towards the ribs. So just the left psoas getting more of a stretch here. The left foot may be suspended, it might be floating in the air or not. Carefully release the right foot and pick up the left knee. Hug the left knee in towards the ribs, extend the right leg. Bend the right, bend the left, release the left, lift up and remove the block and slowly come down onto your back, knees together, feet apart into TP pose. Hands, palms face up, 45 degrees out from the hips. And feel the impact of all that opening of the psoas and the hip flexor. Push the low back gently into the mat to release that low back pressure you've created. You might like to have your strap handy as you roll onto one side of the body into George Costanza pose. Keeping the head down for now, so you have a nice straight line between the head, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. Pick up that top knee and grab the ankle, grab the shin, and bring it back into your quadricep stretch. So here you could use a strap if that's not easily accessible to you. Squeeze the shoulder blades together as you bring that top shoulder back a little bit, creating a little back bend. And once again, notice, bring your attention down to the hip flexor, how the quadricep stretch goes with that open hip flexor. Start to gently roll onto the belly and keep holding the ankle as you support the head, the forehead on your other hand. Noticing the change in sensation through the thigh that you're holding, the bent knee. Now on the bent knee side of the body, the one that you're holding, start to push the thigh into the ground. Start to push the hips into the ground. Notice how that adds more sensation here. And imagine you're trying to open the hip flexor more by lifting the knee up and pushing the foot against the hand. Exhale, slowly release and relax. Relax into crocodile pose. Notice the difference between the thighs on left and right side. Change sides. Come on to the other side of the body. Bending the top knee and grabbing that ankle. Start to bring the top shoulder back so you arch the back a little more, and that's going to open up the hip flexor more. It's also going to stretch the ankle joint, the quadricep, through the patella down into the shin. Use the strap at any time you need to. You can come to your belly now, supporting the head. And keep imagining how can you open the hip flexor more. You'll start to feel, that means lifting the knee up, pushing the foot into the hand, and bringing that hip into the mat, driving the hip into the mat. Keep the breath smooth. Keep the hand that's holding the foot, keep that shoulder back, shoulder blade close to the spine. And then release into crocodile pose. Stack the hands, rest the forehead. And then slowly make your way up to child pose. Knees wide, feeling the hip creases flex now as you bring the head down to the earth. Let the low back release. Slowly come up to tabletop. Create a little cat and cow movement here. And make sure you have a couple of blocks handy at the top of the mat. And step your right foot forward. Grab hold of the blocks, keeping that left leg extended into dragon pose. So we're coming back into the back hip flexor now on that left side. You can lean forward to create more stretch. You can lean back to alleviate the stretch intensity. So use your body weight to make all the difference here. Just a little bit forward, you'll feel more stretch. The more you relax into it, the more you feel it. Good. Now slowly walk the blocks backwards. So you're slowly bringing weight onto the back leg. You can lower the blocks down. Keep the front leg extended in front of you. Lift the heel. Now as you come down slowly using your arms to support the weight. And you might find that you can put a lot of weight onto that back ankle, or you might feel your arms have to take you up a little bit and take the weight off. The front foot is extended, the toes are curled back so you get that nice hamstring stretch. To add even more weight, you can start to bring the blocks forward and drop your head down towards that extended leg, towards the knee. That's going to give you the full impact of half Hanuman. So that back leg is really taking a lot of body weight. But you're in control. The blocks are going to allow you to alleviate the weight at any time. So you might even pulsate, using your arms to lift the weight up and then dropping down slowly and dropping your head. It's a nice way to ease into it. And then slowly use the arms and the blocks to walk you back forwards. And change sides. So you bring the right knee back and then the left foot forward into your dragon pose. And now we start to open up the left hip flexor, the right hip flexor. So you can sway forwards and backwards. You can just hang out there. I know some of you might even come down lower onto blocks. Onto your elbows. Dragon pose. Great pose to open up that psoas, hip flexor. All right, let's see how we go with bringing the weight back on the other leg. So carefully start to use the blocks to support you as you keep that left leg extended, toes of that left foot up. And then ease your way into that back leg. You might feel it particularly in the top of the ankle there. And you can start to bow down towards the knee and then lift up with the arms if you want to pulsate into that. Or you might be ready to come straight into half Hanuman and just hang out here. And then start to slowly make your way back using the arms and the blocks to bring you forward. Come back to tabletop. cat and cow. And then come back to child pose, knees wide. Let go into child. And hopefully the front of the shins and the knees are open now in a way that child pose feels good. And then slowly make your way up. And we'll do a little bit of housework now with our props. So I've got a chair here, and one way I like to use the chair in this particular work is to bring it down onto the ground so the legs stick out away from me. And that gives me a nice sloping ramp here on the chair. I don't know if you can see that very clearly. So it kind of looks like that. Oh, it looks like this, I should say. So the back of the chair is going to create a platform for me to put a bolster on. So I've got a nice sloping bolster. Now you can do the same with a big couch. I've got a big couch behind me. I could angle my bolster up against the couch like that. So we want as much support for the back as possible. So I'm going to start to construct my little support system here. Bolster. And I'm going to have the blanket handy as well, the towel handy as well. So the goal here for me is to find a way to lean back into. So I've got the blanket and the bolster, and I'm leaning back now. So I've come from Vajrasana on the shins to leaning back into my bolster. So basically that's your goal here. And each one of us is going to have a different inclination. Some people will be on the floor who are watching this video. And you'll notice I like to prop my head up with the towel or the blanket. So this is one of the more challenging poses in Yin Yoga called saddle pose. And depending on the sensations you're feeling in the front of the legs, the ankles, knees, shins, you want to find that position that's deliciously uncomfortable. So if you're really struggling right now, you need to come up a little higher and have more support. Watch the neck, make sure the head is supported. You don't want the neck to be extended here. Follow your breath. If your breath is smooth and gentle, you're probably in the right place. If it's choppy and you're holding your breath, it might be too much intensity that you're struggling with. If you ask your body to relax and it responds, If the arousal level of the body relaxes, then you're probably in the right spot. If it can't, if you're tense and you can't let go of that arousal, just take a little bit more pressure off. If you feel even the slightest possibility you could fall asleep here, you might even decide to come down a little lower by sliding the bolster a little further. But this is one of those poses that you can take months and months to develop. So there's no rush in today's class. Sometimes gentle movements of the head left and right can feel nice on the neck. Also, it can reveal if you're hunching the shoulders. You want to drop the shoulders away from the ears. Now to come out of this pose, use the hands on the floor beside you. Tuck the chin to the chest and then push with the hands coming forward, coming up away from your prop. And you're going to slowly walk the hands forward. The knees are going to feel a little sticky. Slowly come forward onto your elbows and extend the legs back slowly into crocodile. Unlocking the knees. Let the toes point outwards in crocodile, Charlie Chaplin feet. Let the breathing be smooth and gentle. Keep the breath as a reference point of relaxation and ease, calm. For more sensation, you can bring the elbows underneath the shoulders into Sphinx. Notice how that opens the hip flexors more. So to progress here even more, you can come into seal pose, or you can come back to crocodile if you've had enough. Seal pose, widen the hands, and start to straighten the arms. Come down to crocodile when you're ready. And then bend the knees, rotate the ankles. First in one direction, then the other. And then slowly make your way up to tabletop. And you might rearrange your instructions and get them out of the way. A little cat and cow here. And then slowly make your way back to child pose once again. Come on up onto all fours. Put a little piece of padding on the right side of your mat. And then come on down into half frog. Bring that right knee, right ankle out onto the padding, hands into goalpost arms, and turn the head to the side. Notice how the neck feels. Adjust the head position if you need to. You can stack the hands under the forehead. Otherwise, see if you can bring your hands around into handcuff position behind your back. Left hand grabs hold of right wrist. Relax the shoulders. So once again, if you look at the left leg, or feel the left leg, it's in triple extension at the hip, knee, and ankle. So the left leg is getting that extended quality about the hip flexor again. Release the hands. Stack the hands onto the forehead. And you could decide here, you can stay in this position or you can come up through Sphinx, even up into seal pose, if you'd like more opening in the groin area. So you choose the level of intensity here. Still with that right hip open, if you can. Exhale, come down, bring that right knee back to join the left. And then make your way to the other side. Start in half frog, left hip open, turning the head, checking the neck on this side. And if you feel ready, grab hands behind the back. Right hand grabs left wrist and relax shoulders. Release the hands and stack the hands under the forehead. And then once again, explore the different variations here to open that right hip flexor. Either seal Sphinx or stay right down on the ground. When you're ready, start to lower and bring the knees back together. Notice how the hip flexors feel. And when you're ready, roll over onto your back into Shavasana. And feel the whole front body opened up. In your Shavasana today, really let go. Each time you breathe out, repeat the mantra, relax, let go. I relax even more. I let go even more. Even more. I relax even more. Let go even more. Become aware of your breath. And gently float the hands up above the chest and clasp the fingers together. And vigorously rub the heel palms. Create warmth in the heel palms. Bend your knees and stand the feet on the floor. Keep rubbing the heel palms, build the heat, and then take the heel palms gently over your eyelids. Let the heat radiate into the eyes. And when you're ready, stretch. Make your way over to one side and slowly come up to a seated position. Bring your hands together at the chest in gratitude for our practice and each other's company. Namaste. Thank you, folks.